the more we started learning and researching ourselves, we realized, wow, this is possible. We can do it. We can go out there and own apartment buildings. We can go out there and own real estate and generate passive income or additional income every month.
Yeah, so we got a chance to hang out at Dealmaker Live, and you guys were already on the right path at the time. This was back in the summer, but I just found out recently that you quit your job like 3 weeks ago, full time. Tell us a little bit about that. What was that like? Is that weird, or was that like totally normal?
Oh, no, I didn't expect it to happen so soon. But even that it did happen, it was just such a freeing. I love my job. I'm a registered nurse. I've been working at the hospital for a long time, 8-9 years, but just that freeing feeling of having the choice now. I still work per diem, when I want to kind of just keep my foot in the door and stay up on my nursing skills, because I do love it. I went into the profession because I love it. But that feeling of having the choice, that was what I was after. And that's what real estate gave me.
I don't know who thought up the idea of retirement, like the idea of like not doing something productive anymore, like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And, and you put it, you said financial freedom does not mean that you stop working. Okay, I mean, no one actually told me they want to do that. What it does give you is choices. And there's a good number of people who choose to either continue working, or they have a business they're running, or they reduce it to part-time. And that's kind of what you did, because you actually enjoy the activity. Why is the choice so important to you? Talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, honestly, even the reason I got into real estate investing was I was on maternity leave with my second daughter and being at home and raising her and my other daughter, and just knowing that, okay, my maternity leave was coming to an end. I had a couple weeks left, and I was like, wow, I have to go back to work. I have to hand over my 3-month-old daughter to someone else to take care of, because I have to go back to work to get this paycheck. And that feeling of like, I didn't even have a choice type thing was so heavy that I immediately started researching other ways to start investing, to start creating passive income, to start creating wealth, so that I could have the choice down the road.
So this was a little bit precipitated by your daughter, and the idea of having to go back to work, and having to just hand someone else the keys to essentially your family. So it happened relatively. When did this happen? And when did this happen? And kind of what did you start doing towards that goal?
Yeah, definitely. So the beginning of 2020 was when I had my second daughter and I was going back to work. And so my husband and I were just looking, at our growing family. We had 2 young daughters under the age of 2. We're like, what are we doing for our financial future? What do we want our life to look like? And we got super specific of, we want to be really involved in their lives. We want to have the freedom to do that. And we both work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. jobs. We're like, how are we going to be able to take them to swim lessons and go on field trips? And how are we going to be able to be involved in that? And so we started looking at our finances and looking at what we were doing with our investing and retirement planning. And we were both putting away 15 to 20% of our paychecks towards retirement. And that was a big chunk of money coming out of our paychecks every month. We work at, nice paying jobs here. And it just felt so discouraging and defeating to know we were putting that much money away every couple of weeks, and we couldn't touch it until we were 59 and a half. It just felt so discouraging that, okay, this is what we're working and saving for, but we can't touch it until we're 60. So we started looking for different ways that we could start investing to put money back into our pockets now. And that's when we stumbled upon real estate, and we learned about all the different ways you can do it. It's such a huge strategy in growing wealth and passive income. And then we got super specific of like, okay, in 5 years, where are we waking up? What are we doing on a day-to-day? How much real estate do we own? How much money is that bringing into our bank account every month? How many properties do we need to get there to make that happen? And then we really kind of worked backwards of like, all right, is this where we want to be at 5 years? What do we need to be doing at 3 years? What do we need to be doing at 1 year? And then it kind of gave us this blueprint of like, on a weekly basis, we need to be submitting this many offers. We need to be talking to this many investors. And it kind of really gave us a clear path of what we needed to do to achieve our goals.
How did you know all that stuff? Like it's very specific deals, offers, investors. Like, I mean, how'd you come up with that game plan?
So we had no real estate experience at the beginning of 2020. We didn't know anyone else doing it. We didn't have money saved up for investing. And so we started just diving in and educating ourselves. So we were binging podcasts. We were reading all sorts of books. We were, networking and talking to investors. We signed up for the coaching program, mentorship program. That was huge, and being able to give us the confidence to get started in the multifamily. But I mean, even, Bigger Pockets, this podcast, we were listening to everything real estate and just diving into it. And the more we started learning and researching ourselves, we realized, wow, this is possible. We can do it. We can go out there and own apartment buildings. We can go out there and own real estate and generate passive income or additional income every month.
Did you consider alternatives? So, I mean, a lot of people, you jump through several hoops, mental hoops. So most commonly, people that, retire, obviously, they're saving 15, 20% and they retire at 65, like you said. Then there's the FIRE method, right? That basically save yourself to death, live on 10%, save it, live under a bridge, and then retire, presumably before the age of 60. Did you look at, and then of course, there's a whole single family house investing strategy, right? And those are typically the most common ways to retire or become financially free. Did you consider any of those at one point? And if so, how seriously?
Yeah, we did. So, I mean, we got started investing in single family homes. So when we decided we wanted to do real estate, we're talking to people, researching, and we got on the phone with my lender. We were thinking about refinancing our house, or we were thinking about maybe upgrading our lifestyle, right? We had a bigger family, maybe we could get a bigger home. And so when I got on the phone with my lender about refinancing into a lower rate, he was like, do you know you have over $100,000 worth of equity in your home? And I'm like, no, I have no real estate experience. I'm like, what is equity? What is that? What can you do with that? He was like, well, you're talking about real estate investing. You can pull this out and use it to invest in real estate. And that was a huge light bulb moment of like, oh, I can tap into this debt in my life and now use it to buy income producing assets. Like that was a huge shift of this is how people are doing it, leveraging debt. And it's funny that it made us realize who we need to be talking to about these kind of strategies. Because if I were to talk to my parents or maybe some friends or family, they'd be like, don't take out a second mortgage. What are you doing? Like, why are you creating more debt in your life? You're creating an additional payment. It doesn't make sense. But then when we started talking to people who are actually doing it, and they're like, yeah, if you can take out $100,000 at a 3.5% interest rate, use it to invest in real estate that's getting you 15 to 20%, it's a no-brainer. And so for that was like, okay, we can go ahead and move down that route. We bought a couple single family homes, but then that was when we were like, okay, how do we scale? What's next? We want to build a business about this. We wanted to be active in it. And then that's when we moved into real multifamily.
There's a lot of information out there. And you mentioned just another one. I didn't even think about that. But, I love Dave Ramsey. His message is fantastic. Yeah. But the problem is, of course, he says debt is bad. But there's such a thing. And my son went through this class and he comes back, Dad, all debt is bad. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But you have to remember who Dave's audience is. These are people who are typically in credit card debt, not very sophisticated, and their biggest problem is, of course, debt. So the message for them is no debt. Debt, bad, right? But as you become a little bit more sophisticated, you realize there are multiple forms of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. But this is the reason I'm highlighting this is there's a lot of misinformation out there when you're watching TV or, like you said, talking to your friends or even your parents. And you just get this misinformation. These are people that you trust, right, and love, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, how do I reconcile this in my brain?" So mentally, what you're describing is you have to jump through a lot of mental hurdles to get to the conclusion that debt, there is such a thing as good debt. You can actually raise money from people, and you can actually, and legally, without begging. But you're highlighting the fact that there's a lot of mental hurdles that people have to go through before they get to the conclusion you got to. So you were educating yourself, and in so doing, you started formulating more of a strategy around multifamily. So what attracted you to that finally? Because you looked at a bunch of other stuff, and what was that plan that you guys were starting to formulate when you said, oh my gosh, multifamily, what was that in your mind, that 5-year plan? Where did you see yourself going?
Yeah, it was really, with no real estate experience, it can feel very difficult to move into a space where you don't feel like you belong. The whole imposter syndrome. I'm a nurse. My husband's a benefits consultant. So we're like, okay, we're going to go out here and start a real estate business and raise money and do real estate deals. It was very foreign to us. And that was when we were like, okay, how can we do this? Who can we learn from? What kind of mentorship and coaching that do we need to get started? And listening to other people that were doing it. So listening to podcasts and hearing stories of people that were out there making this work for them from different walks of life, different skill sets. And that's when we realized, okay, yes, this is something we want to do. And we just love the business aspect of it. I've been in operations and healthcare. I got my master's degree in leadership and admin. So I've been heavily involved in healthcare operations. And I love that aspect of it. I love the team building. I love the communication. I love the quality and I love process improvement. So it felt natural in moving that skill set towards real estate. And now instead of using those skills to build someone else's business, healthcare, because it is a very profitable business that people are making a lot of money from. It was now going and using those skill sets to build our own business and network with our own people. And even when our friends and family heard that we were doing real estate and we bought those first investment properties, they were reaching out to us like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, can I invest with you, or can you show us how type thing? And then that's when we realized, okay, syndications, they might work. And then we moved forward with going through the coaching mentorship and learning all about it and learning how to raise money. And as we've started doing that, it's evolved into me growing a brand. And so it's just been such a cool experience entering into a new territory and seeing the unlimited possibilities. And every time, my husband and I will start talking about new ideas with our business, and it's just like the sky is the limit. And that's what I think I love the most about this.